for tuning in on today's video. Today we have a very interesting project, and that is because a company, Smeding Diesel, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but they just recently came out with a non-VGT drop-in turbo, meaning you don't have to replace anything else. It drops right in, and they supply you with the needed components. Uses your factory up pipes, uses your factory turbo pedestal, even uses your factory turbo drain. The only thing that you're changing is actually going to be your turbo feed line, and that is it. So, like I said, non-VGT, complete drop-in turbo, and I started seeing a lot of other people interested in seeing how these would perform. So we're going to kind of go over the specs of this turbo, how I kind of spec'd it out, because there are multiple options on the website, and then we're going to go ahead and get this puppy installed and basically do a little bit of a torture test with it. So stay tuned, guys. Really exciting video. Let's get it started. So the first thing to note, when I first opened this thing up and pulled it out of the box, is I saw how tiny this exhaust housing is. It is extremely small compared to what you would normally see on your 6.0 Powerstroke. Now, I think the reason that you have such a small exhaust housing in this particular setup is, one, the different center cartridge here. There's limited options, and then the second reason being you have limited space to still be able to use your factory pedestal. You can only run so large of an exhaust housing. So let's go over some of these specs. We went with the 64.5 millimeter compressor wheel. We did go with the billet compressor wheel. We also went with the 360 thrust, heavy duty thrust. If you guys are going to possibly buy this turbo, you might as well get the billet wheel, and you might as well get the heavy duty thrust. Give it its best chance of survival. And then finally, out the back here, we've got the 68 millimeter exhaust wheel. But like I said, tiny exhaust housing. It is a 0.70 AR housing. So very, very tight housing on the back. The compressor side is the largest that they offer on the website. They rate them to 400 to 500 horsepower. The daily is what we're going to be putting it on, and this truck is running 155/30 injectors. So we definitely have enough fuel to hit 500. We've got the hottest tune that we possibly can run. It is also Fickum tuned as well. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is we're going to be kind of pushing the limits maybe just a touch on this turbo. It should spool up very fast. And yeah, that's why it's kind of piqued my curiosity. So now, what they send with the turbo is going to be a feed setup, a drain adapter, and then also a couple of bolts. We have the feed line here. So this is an adapter, so it bolts right into your factory oil cooler. You just got to get an OEM seal, a bolt, and this should bolt right in. And then for the drain portion of it, if we roll this sucker over, they give you this adapter. So you can see there is a gasket inside of there, and then they've got this billet adapter that bolts down to the bottom side of the turbo with two Allen heads. I did Loctite those. Definitely don't need those coming loose. So like I said, this will accept your factory drain line. Now, to be fair, they sent a -6 feed line setup. We are not going to be using the -6 feed setup. The reason for that is this turbo shouldn't need any more oil than a -4 line. Most guys running S300, S400 setups aren't running larger than a -4 line. So kind of interesting that they would send a -6 line. That will cause issues and actually push oil. It'll actually be supplying too much oil to the turbo and could push out the seals and eventually lead to oil consumption through the turbo. So we did opt for going to a T4 line. So we've got a different adapter that's sold by SoCal Billet, and then also so is the line. So we kind of switched out a few things, went to a -4 feed. Should be plenty sufficient for oil feed on this turbo. But with that, enough jibber jabber. We are going to get the daily tour apart here. We've basically, you guys have seen me do this 100 times, but we do have our DIY Stage 2 turbo in there that we're going to be pulling out. And we've got, of course, our one-piece LLD up pipes, which are available in a link down in the description. Let's get started. So here's a little side-by-side comparison. This is a DIY Stage 2 from KC Turbos, if you guys remember. Me rebuilding this turbo and doing the DIY setup on it. And this is our new non-VGT drop-in. And like I said, if we look at the exhaust housing, that's where we see our big differences here. The factory one is actually a 0.9 compared to our 0.7 non-VGT turbo here. So something to keep in mind, that is VGT, obviously. So there are, you know, the turbine housing AR is changing with throttle percentage. So we're going to go ahead and slap this bad Larry back in, or in, I should say, and see how she does. Falls down in there. Well, there it is. The non-VGT drop-in is officially installed. Definitely quite a bit more room underneath here with such a smaller exhaust housing. We put our factory intercooler pipes back on. Not that we don't trust the Chinese, but we wanted a little reassurance with our factory pipes, boots, and clamps. So, but we still have the Chinese intake in, and I will say that the Chinese setup had not failed me at all. But the clamps leave something to be desired for. So, nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and get this thing fired up. As far as install, relatively straightforward. Nothing too crazy. You know, imagine you're just sticking in a factory turbo. The only thing you're adding is a new feed line. That's it. So we got that in there. Just kind of, it's a little bit long, so we kind of routed it up and around the top side of the compressor. But yeah, let's go ahead and fire this thing up and see what she sounds like. All right, so a couple things we're going to keep an eye on. We've got turbo boost down here at the bottom. We got our EGTs up at the top. Of course, we gotta let the truck warm up a little bit, but Sounds like a non-VGT to me. Boost at the bottom, EGT's at the top. Definitely can hear the turbo quite a bit. EGT's looked really good. Boost pressure, we hit 28. We're only maybe quarter throttle, but definitely lights up pretty quick, seems like it. You know what that was?
Oh, I lost the clamp. The clamp might be missing.
Clamp might be missing?
I mean, it is.
Oh! So that's what happened there. Okay, so we didn't blow the turbo, but we lost a tube. So we're gonna have to get that stitched back on here. Please hold. Well, maybe I should have just left the Chinese pipes on, I guess. We lost it off the one end here. The boot appears to be okay. Got a little nick there. We did find the clamp, so that's a bonus. We're gonna use the old hairspray trick. If you don't have one of these sitting in your chemical cabinet, you're missing out. Put that a little bit on the lip here, and yeah, I don't know, it gets sticky, and it works. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna piece this thing back together and give it another wing. Okay, so we might have to clock the compressor housing a little bit differently because it seems to be putting the lower boot in a little bit of a bind. But for tonight, we're just gonna give her the beans and hope she can hold. It is pretty quiet. Okay, so things got a little out of hand last night. We definitely put it through its paces, and so far I would say that I am fairly impressed with the turbo. The turbo seems to light pretty quick, which we kind of expected. It seems to light or start building boost somewhere around that 1600 RPM range, and then it pegs out the gauge. So it pegs it out 28 psi. So we know that it's making more than probably 30 psi. EGTs, I would have to really stay in the throttle to get them above 1,000. I mean, we were going 80 miles an hour at one point, and EGTs were just starting to get into 1,000. So definitely very impressed so far. It's a lot of fun. It's hard to say if it's making more power than the KC Stage 2, but nonetheless, you know, I'm a big fan so far. But it's daytime now, and we're gonna take it for a few more drives and kind of see what the smoke does here. I will say that if you were cruising like at 55, 60 miles an hour, it does seem to have a little bit of lag. But I do have 35-inch tires on it, on this truck with 373s, so that's probably playing a role into that. So, so far, like I said, very impressed, very happy with the turbo. It's holding up great, haven't had any issues. Yeah, so let's get some daytime footage. At about 60 miles an hour. If you look at towards the bottom, we're building about 2 psi of boost, and we're sitting right at about 800 EGTs, cruising 60 miles an hour. We got a slight hill coming up, so we'll just try to maintain speed. So maintaining speed, the boost came, it was still right there. You can see EGTs rose quite a bit, up to 900. About 57, and I'm just gonna roll into the throttle. We can kind of watch how see if there's any smoke that happens. Okay. So like I was saying, you know, when you're cruising 55, 60, there is quite a bit of lag, and it's smoking pretty good, and that's with 155/30s. So it's kind of interesting, you know. But I also have 35-inch tires, so RPMs are kind of in that low range. And so if you guys with stock tires, I'm curious to know if you guys have that. I would almost bet that you don't have as much lag at that speed. But I'm just lugging the turbo too much at that speed and that low of an RPM. So Alright guys, so in an attempt to alleviate any transmission issues, we're going to end this video here. First impressions, I'm amazed. The turbo has been fantastic. It's building more boost than what I expected. EGTs are lower than what I expected. It has been torture tested, and I'm impressed. It spools fast. There's no smoke with 155/30s on just a hard wide open throttle pull. So maybe we gotta up our injector size a little bit. Maybe they think that it's only good for 500, but maybe it's good for more. So like I said, we don't have many miles on it, but our initial impressions and a little bit of a torture test here, very impressed. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. The proof is in the pudding, guys. But nonetheless, that's it. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll catch you guys in the next one.